GM, everyone, thanks so much for joining us on this wonderful Wednesday. We're here with the amazing SKALE Engineering team. The markets are heating up. We're all so excited. But as you know, throughout the bear, throughout the bull, these builders have been here, and we have a lot of new exciting developments that are coming up. Wanted to give a big shout out to the newest addition to the SKALE team, Andrew Saunders, coming to bring a lot of experience and growth. I know that makes Stan super excited. These guys are working so hard, on the back end, but it's important that we get it out to you guys so you see what's happening. Today, we're going to be going over the launch of Portal 2.2. There's a user-friendly staking UI. We're introducing Block Scout 2.0, the capabilities of the archive node, whatever that means, and advancements in EVM compatibility. And also, I heard we're going to get a sneak peek into the upcoming 2.4 release. Before we dive into that, some of you are just now tuning in. This is your first SKALE Engineering space. So just on the direction of my screen, I would love to have these amazing devs introduce themselves. First is Sawyer. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Fantastic. Give us a brief introduction. Who is Sawyer? What's he doing for SKALE?
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. My name's Sawyer. I do a few different things. So first of all, I work with SKALE's developer success team. I work with almost every project that is building or interacting or leveraging SKALE, which is super exciting. So get to work with a lot of amazing people throughout the ecosystem, throughout the community. And I'm really fortunate. I also get to work with individuals like Artem, Stan, and D3 here to help kind of bring some of those community requests and what the developers want and are trying to do. And ultimately just help bring that community contribution back to the project. I'm a software engineer by trade, so I also build quite a few of the tools and different things that you might see or use throughout the ecosystem, like the S Fuel station, for example. Super excited to be here today. Any other questions from Easy?
No, that's awesome. Thanks for the introduction. I do want to give audience some color about where the SKALE team comes from. Most of us are in California and then the rest in Portugal. So lots of palm trees, beaches, and sunshine. And I hope you guys get out and touch some grass. Everyone's been working so hard behind the scenes. Stan, who are you? What do you even have to do with SKALE?
Yeah, so first of all, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Me and Dima, we are in Lisbon. SKALE Engineering has a beautiful office in downtown Lisbon in Avila Spaces. So we are connecting from Avila Spaces from Lisbon. I'm the CTO of SKALE. Dima is deputy CTO. We are really fun guys that do fun things. And I will tell about these fun things just in a couple of minutes.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for that introduction. Next to you is D3.
Yeah.
So D3, I want you to give us a background. We have D1, D2, D3. What's going on? You guys have like AI names.
Yeah, we have like D1, D2, D3, D4. We have really a lot of Dimas in our team, in our engineering team. Each of Dima is very unique. Yeah, I'm D3. I'm deputy CTO, and today I'm ready to give you some insights about the upcoming release and also get some information about already the best features, the coolest features that we just implemented and rolled out to the mainnet. So my name is D3, and I'm with SKALE from the beginning, like Stan, like Artem. Yeah, and it's amazing project and with amazing people. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's good to have you join us. Also, the sound of the mic is so crisp. It's like itching something in my brain. I can't explain it.
Actually, our team has been complaining because we have some people working remotely. As you know, we have some people stuck in Ukraine, and we have people in engineering team working from Poland. So we've been listening to complaints. We used to have a Jabra microphone. It's a terrible thing. We bought this Jabra thing. It never worked, and people complained all the time. So today we have a new microphone, and it's just so much better. So hopefully this is going to change our entire life here in Lisbon. This is the first session with this new microphone.
No, I love it. Also, great setup behind you. It's so colorful and vibrant. Sawyer, take some notes. It looks like you're being held hostage wherever
Yeah.
you. Yeah, had to take a jab at Sawyer just to start it off. All right, Artem, how are you doing today? Would love an intro.
Yes, thank you, Z. Yeah, I'm doing good. As well in Lisbon, and Lisbon is pretty famous for its pretty beautiful weather every day. And yeah, my name is Artem. I am the Scale from the birth of Scale. I was a core engineer, then I switched to the developer success team and work closely with the customers and with engineering team in the middle of these connections. And yeah, I have almost daily connections with Sawyer, with Stan and D3, and we are trying to make the world better with Scale product.
Yeah, that's awesome. Interesting you mentioned that you communicate with people. You know, engineers and devs usually have a reputation of like living in a basement, but you do such an amazing job communicating with our developer community. You get a lot of shout outs from a lot of Scale projects. So keep up the good work. Now we can go. First off, Artem, while I have you, exploring 2.2, the new staking UI, I'd love for you to go into the details of the portal. What is it? What is the newly designed staking UI? I saw a video of what the process looks like, but I'd love for you to like update on the enhancements in the user experience and everything that went into building that.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, every blockchain network is a very complex structure of many different things, and starting with the nodes, ending with some sending of some transactions, and etc. And basically, in each blockchain network, there are different participants of this blockchain network. Is this a miner? Is this a node? Is this some provider which are providing some services? Is the end user, or etc. 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 And it's always a big task to combine everyone in one space, providing all the different services for each specific individual which is using this network. And we started our portal some actually years ago with trying to step by step adding new features. And actually our recent one is adding a new staking UI is one of the commonly asked feature, because like we have a delegation system which is staking system, and everyone can go and stake. Initially it was a problem, because like, it was in a raw, in a native for developers way. So basically every developer can stake, but it is not it wasn't open for the mass user. And almost every week we have conversations about how can I stake and etc. And it was a big problem. And currently, I'm glad to announce that we introduced it about a month ago, and close to 84% of all delegations are happening through the portal. This is a good success, and we even increased our numbers of delegators. And yeah, with this staking UI, you can choose to which delegator, to which validator you stake. And also, I'm glad that our staking and delegation system is works this way, that you do not send any tokens to any other parties. Basically, Scale delegation system in this thing is very unique, because like we lock tokens on a balance of the user and not sending to any kind of smart contract to control these tokens. And that's why we were able to create this delegation UI in a very fast and simple manner.
Definitely, focusing on UI is always so bullish. You mentioned something about feedback during your build. When you set out to build this new update, was it based on user feedback? Is it an internal decision you make as devs? But I think in general, like when the Scale team and the Scale dev community are updating these products, is it based on like what our users are saying, what the other dev community is offering?
It's usually it's a combination of everything. You firstly need to ask from users what we need to build, what is missing to you to use the system. Then you need to ask developers what we can do, and then you see what others blockchain networks and other communities do. And after combining all of this information, you are starting building your own thing.
Awesome. On the topic of enhanced UI, D3, I'd love for you to get into Block Scout. And we know that it's enhancing blockchain visibility, but what does that mean? And how is that contributing to transparency?
Sure, Zara. So with the new 2.3, 2.4 releases, we also did not forget about our UI, about our block explorers, and rolled out, like last month, we just rolled out the completely new Block Scout, completely new Block Explorer 2.0. Thanks guys from Block Scout that they're developing this version of the Block Scout, and we have integrated it into our chains, into our network. So currently our block explorers now completely new, completely different, with a completely new UI. And you can go to our main page, to the portal UI, go to the block explorers and see a completely new UI. So it's really new, really pretty awesome. And so I can tell you a lot of good words about how pretty it is, but it is better just to go to the portal, to the block explorer, and just to see it from on your site, because it's really amazing. Yeah, so also in new Block Scout, in new Block Explorer 2.0, the stability of the Block Explorers are much better. So currently we have like uptime nearly 100%. Also, the new Block Scout showing the statistics about the chain. You can go to the Block Scout and get the network statistics about transactions, about blocks, about block mining speed, about how many users are on the specific chain, and so on and so on. So it's really amazing. And just go to the new Block Scout and just go to our Block Explorer and see it on your site.
It's awesome. So if I understood that correctly, Block Scout is like a search engine for blockchain.
Yeah, so it's the framework that helps to index and shows the data from the blockchain, like all transactions, all blocks, all smart contracts, and so on. And you can interact with this by from your browser, from your phone, from everything. So it's pretty useful.
Yeah, and you mentioned a link. Do you have the portal link handy for users to go ahead and access it and start playing with it?
Oh yeah, I have. So we can share it in the chat, I think. Yes.
Awesome. So while you put that down there, Artem, I wanted to loop you into this as well. So Block Scout, fairly easy to comprehend, but onto something that's a little more complicated, archive node capabilities. What is the significance of that in the Scale ecosystem?
Let's firstly dive in a bit what is archive node and why it's needed. Basically, on any setup and on any network and on any computational ecosystem, you collecting a lot of data from any point of this ecosystem. For example, with the blockchain, there are transactions going through the nodes every day, and they're collecting in the blocks and adding to the blockchain. And to save everything, there is need a lot of space, and you need to have additional storage to save everything. And basically, in our architecture, we divided the core nodes and archival nodes. Basically, core nodes are the main goal of the core nodes is maintain the speed and maintain the connectivity between the core nodes. So basically, every user and every developer can maintain the fast reaction of a blockchain. And archive nodes would store everything which ever been in this blockchain. and and for archive node, it also need to be fast, but you need to store everything. And we trying to divide these two products. And there are a lot of new things coming to the archive node, and one of the new thing is add ability to read historical state, which is new to Scale, because like Scale storage structure is a bit different from Ethereum, and it was our new addition, which allow everyone to use the same internal transactions which are already known across all EVMs. And I would like to pass my word to D3 about some new functionalities which archive node have.
Yep. Thanks, Artyom. So in the latest release that was developing for a long time, we have added, like Stan was working on this release a lot about new release for Archive node. And currently in the latest one, we have the debug tracing API enabled with all functionality to debug transactions, to trace blocks, to trace calls, to trace everything on the blockchain. So if you want to, for example, you have transaction, and this transaction failed for some reason, and you want to understand what happened, you can just go to Archive node and run the trace of transaction and see what has happened, opcode by opcode, step by step, and you will understand. It's like debugging. So it's very useful for our developers, for everyone who is using S-chains as to develop contracts, to deploy contracts, and to send some sophisticated functionality and sophisticated transactions. Probably Stan can add to this also.
Yeah, so the tracing was one of the things that our customers, our users ask the most. For Scale, adding tracing was not trivial because our network is so fast. So we are at the moment the fastest by far, the highest performance network, and actually we're getting much faster. So even in this release, we're getting probably like twice faster. So we are very fast, and adding tracing is hard when you're really fast. So we've been working on this for like 6 months, but now we have it, and this means that we can integrate with pretty much everything in the Ethereum ecosystem, which used to work with slow things like, for instance, Tenderly, or different development tools, Hardhat, the Block Scout Explorer. It's pretty much anything which actually provides tracing debugging for developers can now work with Scale. And as I mentioned, that was not a trivial task because the network is so fast. But now we are the fastest network, the only Ethereum compatible network which is so fast. I believe we are the fastest now by far. But now we also have tracing, and it's gonna even get better. By the end of the year, we have more plans to get faster.
Okay, let me try to see if I understood it. So for the archive nodes, this is how you're supporting data accessibility, network integrity, and performance. Just to connect the dots, this is does this tie back into Block Scout as well, since like the nodes are the ones that are providing the data?
Yeah, so basically the archive node, and it's really a non-trivial thing by itself, because archive node actually it's a time machine. So it's supposed to give you anything at any moment in the past. For instance, if you want to find out how many tokens you had 2 years ago, you're able to do it through an archive node. But then Block Explorer supports it, so you can use the Block Explorer and go and see how many tokens you had 2 years ago. So because of that, Block Explorer and the archive node, they are very much connected because they are essentially the time machines. In our case, producing this time machine is not trivial because we have way faster nodes and way more data. I believe we currently have the by far the biggest data nodes in any blockchain, for any blockchain. We have XOR as an example. We have this AI application which produces terabytes of data. No one near has something like that. So we have this really time-consuming and data-consuming applications. And for these applications, we need to have this time machine, which is the archive node, and the block explorer. So although these things look trivial, but running them at such speed with such huge amounts of data is not trivial. So it looks simple, but it takes lots of time. And I believe that at this moment in time, no one else can match us, in a sense that many people talk about running AI applications on blockchain, but they just talk. Scale at the moment has pretty much the only AI application on blockchain which makes sense, and this application produces huge amounts of data. It can only run on Scale. It can only run on our archive node. It can only run on our block explorer. So pretty much these things are very important. And at the moment, we're producing the stack which runs really fast, runs huge amounts of data. And this is really unique about Scale. And this is something that we are targeting in the future, targeting big data applications and AI applications. Other people say that they target AI applications, but they can't really run with this data. They can't run on the speed we can, and that's actually something which we are really targeting for the future.
Yeah, and from my side, I also can give one insight for the next release of Block Explorer. We are going to add this new debug tracing functionality inside the Block Explorer, so all our hubs will be able to show you not only transaction data, but also internal transaction data, and you will be able to see insights of the transaction, like opcodes, calls, internal calls, and so on. So just wait for the next release of Block Scout and you will get it.
Yes, Dan, to your point, it's no easy task to have the world's fastest blockchain. It's actually one of my favorite topics. I was harassing Sawyer over the weekend. I was like, let's calculate the transactions per second. And, we see that every scale chain does around 400 TPS all the time. So it's super impressive what this technology can do. Now I'd love to do a deep dive into EVM compatibility updates. Sawyer, I'll pass it to you first, and then we'll loop in Stan. What are the technical improvements in EVM compatibility? But just taking a step back from that for our listeners, what is EVM compatibility?
Absolutely. I'll focus more on the high level, and I'll let Stan talk about more of the deep dive technically. I think he does a much better job of explaining it. But EVM compatibility is essentially being able to work and process things in the traditional EVM manner. So what is the EVM? The EVM stands for the Ethereum Virtual Machine. It's essentially what allows a smart contract, which is usually, we generally see them written in Solidity, but there are some other languages that work. It allows a smart contract to be essentially executed and functions to run on the blockchain, right? And so, as pretty much everybody that is probably familiar with Scale is aware, Ethereum is the king, right, of the EVM, right? They invented it. It is the biggest EVM network that exists today, and with that, they're basically the one that sets the standard, right? When they make big changes, everybody else has to make the decision of whether they want to follow or whether they're going to go their own way. Now, from the very low level, or from kind of the thesis point of Scale, right, we are an Ethereum scaling solution. And so based on that, we want to be compatible. We want developers to be able to say, hey, if I start on Ethereum and things get too expensive, I need more speed, I need more power, whatever it is, I can turn around, go to Scale, and everything just works. And so that's really what Ethereum or EVM compatibility means here, is it's people being able to come, developers being able to come from Ethereum, from other, Ethereum-like networks, come to Scale, and everything just works. Does that make sense?
Yeah, essentially, EVM compatibility is a way for developers to migrate contracts without having to write code again from scratch.
Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
Oh my gosh, we're all learning so much.
I know, it's great. So with that, right, with this EVM compatibility, then we have to actually talk about what needed to change, right? What did we need to do to continue to become compatible? And so from there, there's a few things in this upcoming release, in the past couple releases, that the engineering team has done such an amazing job working on. But at this point, fortunately, we are in general very compatible. Almost everything out of the box just kind of works on Scale, right? So we've seen things just continuously get better, be easier for developers to use. One of the biggest updates, I think, in terms of EVM compatibility that's coming is what we call EIP 1559. What is this EIP 1559? This is a update that came, I think it's a couple years ago now, if I'm not mistaken, to the Ethereum network, and it basically introduced a fee market for Ethereum. Instead of people that want to execute a transaction on the blockchain basically outbidding each other and saying, hey, my gas, I'm going to price it higher than yours. Now there's actually a basically base fee, and then people get to set the max they're willing to pay. What this did from a chain perspective is it changed how the transactions were set up. It changed some of the parameters that were added to the code that developers use to set things up. And ultimately, it wound up changing quite a few of the different libraries and underlying kind of processing mechanics for these transactions. Well, we at Scale technically don't need EIP 1559 because we have zero gas fees. We had a number of different tools, different requests, and just an interesting situation where it was a feature that, again, we don't need, but we felt that it would be valuable to support. That way, developers, again, when they come to Scale, they don't have to change, ideally, as much code, right? Things can work even simpler for them. But I'll pause there. I have a feeling that Stan probably has some really interesting thoughts and or pieces to add there on something I might have missed.
Yeah, so I think you explained things really well. I'll just add a couple of comments. One thing which is really interesting is that smart contract, I think people hear the word smart contract, most people get lost. And that's actually a really unfortunate term. It's very historic. I mean, I don't know personally why it's called like that. It's definitely not a contract. And it's smart or not smart depends on the developer. Some developers are really dumb, I think. Some smart. So if you're a dumb developer, I would say that it's a dumb contract. But in reality, it's not smart. It's not contract. It's just software. It's basically a bot. You know, if you have like a Telegram bot, it's just a piece of software that runs on the blockchain. It's a program. I mean, they call it smart contract purely for historic reasons, I think. It's a program, and it runs on blockchain. Because it runs in this distributed fashion, it's decentralized. There are many copies of the program, but it's just a program. And what's super important about this program, the program is written in a particular language, which is called Solidity, and is run by a particular executable thing, which is called EVM. And these two things were invented by Gavin Wood. Some people think it's by Vitalik. In reality, Gavin Wood, the co-founder of Ethereum, invented both the EVM and the Solidity programming language. And it's a programming language, essentially Solidity. It's very much like JavaScript or Python, but it's a little different. But the point about Solidity is that many people know it. So as you imagine, you know, if you know Solidity, you can be paid as a coder, and then you don't want to learn another language. So it's a language everyone knows. So, but historically, the language was designed for really, really, really slow systems like Ethereum mainnet, and it was designed for really, really slow things. But now we at Scale, for instance, run Solidity, and at Scale, the same thing runs like 1,000 times faster. And the reason why we still run Solidity is just because everyone knows Solidity. So it's a language, and once you have a language, people learn it. They don't want to learn anything else. So basically, now the community has this language, which is really cool, Solidity, but it's actually being run in a different way. In our case, for instance, we run it on AI, to do AI or big data, but language is the same, but we need to run it way faster. So the language is also evolving, and some changes are important, some changes are not important. There are some important changes to make it, for instance, faster, right? We like when they add new things to make it faster because we like to be fast. And because of this, it's important for us to actually keep up with Solidity because it's actually getting faster, but it's also to be compatible because now Ethereum ecosystem is essentially a collection of projects. And all of them run Solidity, all of them run EVM, and the EVM is something that makes us one single thing, the community. And we need to support EVM, they support EVM, and it's good for everyone because it's a set of open source tools, but because the language is the same, it's called cross-platform, you can run on different blockchains, the same thing essentially, and ultimately it benefits users. You can take a smart contract from Ethereum mainnet, run it on Scale, take it from Scale, run it on Ethereum mainnet, run it on Polygon, run it on ZK EVM, whatever. You can pretty much take the same program and run it on different blockchains. But because it's the same, it's really great for users. And that's why it's important for everyone to keep up. And it's also important to be faster. And we at Scale are determined from the beginning to be 100% compatible with the community because we are open source. There's really nothing proprietary about Scale, and we're just part of the community. We just run things faster. That's our secret sauce, but it's the same thing. So that's why keeping up with EVM, keeping up with Solidity, new things is so important for us.
I have a question about Solidity. So we know that Solidity enforces immutability for deployed smart contracts, and it does so you ensure like the integrity and the predictability of the contract's behavior. But I know that you guys are doing a lot of updates via Solidity. So how does that happen? Do you have to like undeploy a contract before you can make changes? Like how do you update and improve and do all these enhancements if it enforces immutability?
Yeah, that's a great question, Zara. I think, if you take the puristic point of view of true believer in smart contracts, people say they have to be immutable because, it's like you deploy the smart contract, you die, but your token, survives. That's the idea. No one can modify your token. So the puristic point of view on smart contracts is immutability. You deploy it once, no one can change it. And Solidity initially was this kind of a modified version of JavaScript. So essentially, Gavin Wood took JavaScript and did some tweaks to it in particular to make this immutable things. And so that's the puristic point of view. But then people realized there are bugs. And then people came up with this kind of a non-puristic idea of training wheels, saying, okay, the smart contract is immutable, but let's initially make it not immutable, fix bugs, and later make it immutable. So people realized that it's like they have to, at some point, be able to update it, at least initially, while they're fixing bugs. So people somehow needed to make mutable smart contracts. And then there is this great project, Open Zeppelin, and they came up with this idea of proxy contracts. Essentially, contracts are immutable, but then you deploy a different contract and you redirect. It's I think if you have something which you cannot change, let's say you have a website which you can't change, right? But you need to change it. What you can do, you can redirect the DNS name to a different website, and then the way you change, you just create a new copy, and you redirect to this new copy. So that was the idea of updatable contracts, and Open Zeppelin actually introduced this idea. At this point, pretty much everyone is using it. We are using it. It has become an industry standard. It's pretty secure. It has passed lots of audits. And usually when people make these things, they create sort of a multi-sig. To update a contract, you actually use this multi-sig. So if you look like at Optimism or, for instance, any rollup, usually they have smart contracts, but they're not actually immutable. There's usually a key somewhere, someone is holding the key or multiple people holding the keys. And then if a large number of these people get together, they can update So these people are usually scared, that someone can abduct them, whatever. They have to live in different countries, protect themselves, whatever. But actually, pretty much everyone in industry now, they want immutable contracts. They're using this multi-sig from OpenZeppelin. You can also have a multi-sig which is actually based on a vote, and it's a more secure thing where it's essentially token holders vote, and if you get a majority vote, then it's updatable. But the framework is actually coming from OpenZeppelin, and everyone is using it in the industry. I think Artyom can tell much more about it because he is our in-house expert on updatable contracts.
Yes, thank you, Stan. I don't want to take so much time. Yes, OpenZeppelin is widely used set of libraries, and they support these upgradable contracts. And we widely use these upgradable contracts as well, because it supports us to do any kind of changes in our scale manager, which is deployed on mainnet. And we need to do these changes because our network is evolving and enhancing month by month. We're adding some more features, and for example, as we have some questions about 2.4, we are thinking about to add more flexible scale chain partition, which is firstly need to be derived from the smart contract. And that's, for example, why we need to update smart contracts. And shortly asking the question how we update it. Basically, this OpenZeppelin support proxy and implementation. Basically, one is state and another one is functionality. State you can change, functionality you can change. And when you update it, basically you deploy one more functionality and just redirect to go with this functionality. This is simply how you update the smart contracts.
This is so interesting. I don't know if you guys saw, I just changed my name to growth manager and developer. I feel like at this rate, I can probably, write a few lines of code and understand. I think that was really interesting. I always was curious about immutability on chain and what it means when you are trying to change and update. And also I think about it when I see contracts getting hacked, it's I thought it was immutable. What happened? But I would like to summarize just a bit about what we've been discussing. So we know that ETH compatibility is so important because it's allowing for developers to bring their existing code bases to scale with fewer changes required. It's a really easy transition. And then Sawyer, you talked about EIP 1559. So this is an addition of a fee market to Ethereum by offering block-based fees in addition to allowing senders to specify their maximum fee, as opposed to legacy transactions, which is bidding on the gas price. Sawyer, I just want you to chime in here quickly. Does Scale need an EIP 1559?
No, we don't need it because, again, we have 0 gas fees, right? So the gas price is always essentially the equivalent of 0 because we've all agreed that it's 0. That's how Scale has 0 gas fees, right? But from a technical perspective, if you go and look at some developers' code, sometimes they'll specify the max fee per gas, which is part of that EIP 1559. It's part of that kind of setting up the transaction. And so once 2.4 rolls out to mainnet, what it means is that developers who are on Ethereum, on other EIP 1559 supported networks, they'll actually be able to come to Scale, deploy their contracts, which all that works just fine now. And instead of having to, potentially have an error or a bug show up during their testing, things are just going to work. They're not going to have to change anything. Their users still get 0 gas fees. It's basically just a developer experience improvement or a quality of life improvement.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, EIP 1559 is a new one. So it sounds like we're just doing it for Ethereum compatibility. Okay, awesome. On to you, Stan. What's next for Scale? I'd love a glimpse into the future of the 2.4 release. What are some of the anticipated features, enhancements, and then also from an engineering perspective, what is the strategic direction of the Scale network?
Yeah, that's a great question, Zara. I think from the beginning, our direction was just to make sure that when people try Scale, it feels different, it feels much better. And this usually means performance and absence of bugs, stability. And now, I think I don't go much to conferences, but Jack, our CEO, went to a conference, and some other guys went to a GDC conference on gaming, and they said people love Scale, and they actually love, using Scale because it feels like iPhone versus Android, or like BMW versus Ford, just drives differently. So basically we want Scale to feel differently, to be way more performance. People tried and they don't use anything else. And at this moment, we are way faster and we are way better, but we're pushing the limits in Scale. So we have the goal by the end of the year to get to 1 second block time and 1 second finalization time. That's really a pretty important goal for us. Just for you to understand, Ethereum mainnet has 19 minutes finalization time. We currently have 3 or 4 seconds. We want to get to 1 second, and it's super important. And the reason why we can do this is just because we are mathematically clean. Like, our team is also very small, and we don't actually, our chains run by themselves. We don't monitor them much or like restart them. We actually do the software and the software runs. So every time we change things, we need to make sure that it's mathematically clean and it doesn't break our chains. So every change is happening slowly, and we have a plan to be much faster. And the plan is executed in a series of steps. I think with this release 2.4, in some of our tests, we are twice faster. Some other tests, we are up to 3 times faster. We'll get more and more faster. This requires lots of computer science. Our team is very small. We have about 15 people, engineers, but engineers are very smart. It's actually good to have small team. To give you an example, Telegram has about 30 people. The entire Telegram messenger, because they have very strong engineers. We also have really strong engineers. We have a small team, and this allows us to project things for a long time, for years ahead. And so what we think is going to happen by the end of this year, we're going to get drastically faster, drastically better user experience. So that's the main goal. And then I think we also have some ideas about using some new mathematics like ZK. We've been talking about ZK for a long time, but now we have some really solid plans on ZK, and we'll actually be revealing these plans at some point in time later.
Mm-hmm. And also regarding to the upcoming release, I can add some more insights. So as Artyom and Stan already mentioned, we have added EIP 1559 to have ability V2, V1 transactions to run on Scale. Also, we have this huge improvements of consensus algorithm that will help us to run our chain much faster. And internally, we already have like pretty amazing increase of speed for blocks, for TPS, for transactions. I think in the couple weeks we will be able to roll out it to the mainnet, and then everyone will see the increase in speed and increase in capabilities of the Scale chains. But also there are some new cool features that we have included in our new release. One more feature, it's that Artyom just quickly mentioned when he talked about upgradable contracts. It's new flexible contract deployment. So from the new release, we will be able to have a more comprehensive mechanism and more flexible mechanism to grant roles to deploy contracts. So you can choose who can deploy through your contract. You can choose how the level of protection of your contract, like everyone can deploy through your contract, or like only some cool guys can deploy through it, or no one can deploy from it. You decide. Developer will decide. The developer of smart contract will decide. So it will enhance much our opportunities in the meaning of the contract deployment, contract creation. So you can create much more comprehensive and much more complicated contracts with like that could deploy other contracts, and you will be sure in their security and in their protection. And also in the upcoming release, we will also, it's a good news for our validators. First, it's the first version of our new monitoring API that will help to validators and to monitor better their nodes, to get metrics from the nodes and collect them, see them, track the node performance. Yeah, and it's much increase and enhance the ability how to monitor their nodes. So, and also we have like a lot of improvements and enhancements that are not so big but really interesting, like with archive node, with sync nodes, with core nodes, and other things in our network.
Sounds like you guys have a very busy upcoming year. There's a lot of amazing updates that are coming. Also, Stan, a little hint at ZKs. That one I'm super interested in because it also can be a controversial topic for some. But I'd love to just utilize our last 10 minutes with a quick rapid fire. Art, I'm throwing this at you. So Scale has saved users nearly $8 billion on gas fees. How are we calculating this?
Very simple. We just take the gas usage, how much users spent on Scale, and we are looking into Ethereum and other networks, what was the gas price at this point of time, and what's the price of the native currency on different networks. And we're just calculating the total amount of how much we saved comparing to some other network. For example, with Ethereum, we saved 8 billion in total. With some other networks, we saved, I don't know the numbers, but everyone can go and check it on Dune. We have a pretty big comparison table.
Yeah, definitely. We have an entire stats page in the Scale ecosystem where you can go check out those numbers live. Not to be a nerd, but it's pretty exciting. Stan, what features or use cases for Scale are you most excited about in next year? And I know you shared about what's upcoming, but what specifically for use cases gets you the most excited?
So that's an interesting question. I think something that people need to realize is that the blockchain space is still very much experimental. It's like a homebrew club before Steve Jobs. Essentially, people experiment. You don't go to like a subway or like commute whatever and see people playing Web3 games. So the entire Web3 games is still a startup. Bitcoin is definitely not a startup as a store of value, but the rest of it is still a startup. So lots of experimentation, and I think that if Web3 would be mainstream, then Scale could easily win because a mainstream Web3 would require lots of transactions if millions of people would use it. But at the moment, it's still experimenting, but it's growing, and we see growth and Scale. And the more mainstream Web3 becomes, the only alternative actually becomes Scale, because if you want to run your applications with millions of people, so users, you need to have many chains. And we see this, right? We see constant growth of transactions. So we're excited about this. But the two things that we are excited about are games and AI. For games, I believe that what's happening is that we're still waiting for a viral Web3 game. There's not yet a Web3 game, which is successful in a normal sense of gaming with like 100 million users, 10 million users, right? If anything like that happens, the only thing that can run it is Scale. So we're really excited about one of the Web3 games becoming a real thing used by people. And I think that the way it's going to happen may be either like a startup that really takes the user interface and virality seriously and actually growing to millions of people, or it could be also an existing game studio adding Web3 features to their games. So that's number one. I mean, that could be number one hockey stick moment in blockchain. Another possibility could be a viral social network. Another possibility could be also, we're really excited about XOR, an AI application, an AI application that actually needs lots of data, lots of chains. So basically, I feel that the industry is at this stage where everyone is waiting for this hockey stick moment, very much like before ChatGPT. There were lots and lots of bots, but people were waiting for this thing to take mainstream. So I hope that for this market cycle, Web3 will actually go mainstream, either AI or gaming or social, and then the only thing that can run it is actually Scale. And then we don't have any competition because everyone else just has a single chain. So we are waiting for this hockey stick moment. We are actually getting ready for it. We're adding features. We're getting more stable, more performant. We just got a great new CMO, Andrew. He's going to help us, evangelize these things. So we're really waiting for this magic moment to happen.
I love the energy in the chat. We have Maddox saying, Stan knows we're early. Definitely, we're in the early days and like the building blocks of building the tech for this industry. But I too, I'm super bullish about scale for gaming and both AI. A lot of people have been distracted away from Web3 gaming currently with like the meme frenzy, but gaming is here to stay. And actually tomorrow we have an amazing gaming space titled "Is Web3 Gaming Still the Meta?" And we're having a bunch of different perspectives come on. But moving on from that, we have Decenter AI, Skillful AI, Palm AI building on Scale, and there's a lot of, there's an influx of interest for AI projects to build on Scale. D3, what makes Scale's architecture good for AI?
Oh, thank you, Zara, for this question. No, first of all, we are like, as Stan said, we are like the fastest blockchain, and you can run really every application on our blockchain as fast as you can and without any gas fees. So you can create really impressive applications, like, for example, like Exort. Currently, we have this big application, Exort, that is running their own chain. They're grabbing data, they're collecting data, and run like cleaning and do some data preparation, and then like read tweets, read like internet news and so on, and understand the sentiment of some specific topics. And all this application is able to run specifically on this S chain. For example, on other chains, they need to pay like billions of dollars for gas that they're using, and they're using really huge transactions that are consuming a lot of gas. So our architecture is allow the user to run gas-free transaction, like do not pay for gas at all and run as big transaction as they want. And for AI, it's very important to handle this amount of data. Like when you're like, for example, training data, or like you're trying to build a new model, you need to train it on the huge batches of data and huge batches of different images, videos, something like this. And for all of this, you need to really use a lot of gas. But on this chain, you do not need to pay for this gas. It's the first thing. And also, when you are trained on, you are running the new model, you also need to make it as fast as possible. Yeah, because no one wanted to wait like days or months until it's trained. You just want to like build, train, and just push this network. And on Scale, it will be like really impressive speed. Currently we have like block time for on Nebula chain, or like Titan AI chain that already some AI application is used, like 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds block time, and like really fast. You will not be able to achieve this on Ethereum. Like on other networks, it's really impressive. So two factors: free gas and high speed together. Welcome AI applications.
Sounds like the best options for AI, because the issue with traditional blockchains for AI is the high gas fees. the costs quickly escalate, making your AI operations economically unsustainable. And then also on traditional blockchains, you have chain congestion and the need for instant finality. Like AI applications require really high throughput, but also instant finality to make sure like once the decisions are made, they're irreversible. And, not to shill too hard, but Scale resolves a lot of these issues. Zero gas fees, high throughput, instant finality, zero MEV. Not to get too deep into this, but like AI, ML execution with smart contracts and the amazing tools people such as Sawyer are building really help making everything faster and smarter for AI. But thanks so much for sharing that, D3. Just to go in and give our closing remarks, I wanted to thank everyone so much for engaging and joining these. I know talking about the engineering stuff isn't always so exciting. I was also one of those people, but the more that I get immersed in the blockchain technology, I recognize, we're all so early to an industry, and we're all building a movement together. Just to summarize what's been happening, we explored Portal 2.2, new staking AI, introduction to Block Scout 2.0, which I'm going to play with as soon as we end this call. We have the archive node compatibility capabilities. We did a deep dive into EVM compatibility. So there's a lot of really exciting stuff. I wanted to give a special shout out to our dev community joining us on this call. You guys are doing amazing work. Thanks for making Scale so fast. I hate to make this comparison because it might be controversial, but like, D3, you talk about high gas fees. No one wants to pay gas fees. That's why people are migrating over to, electric vehicles. So are we like the Tesla of the blockchain industry? I know Sawyer is like an old soul. He's probably like, I like a Ford 1980 with like a loud engine that's like a gas guzzler. But I think, we're like the electric vehicles of the blockchain. People don't want to pay gas fees. They want something fast and smart. Well, yeah, you can quickly argue with me in the last 1 minute of it.
There are some
No argument.
controversials about Tesla, but we are more cost efficient than other blockchains.
Yeah. Sawyer?
Innovation. Whether you hate or don't, whether you like or hate Tesla, that's your opinion. It's all good. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. There's things that they've done outside of actually building electric cars in terms of the charging, the batteries, a whole bunch of other really cool technical things that they've innovated that a lot of people don't talk about. So again, whether you like or don't like Tesla, I think that where Scale has a really nice comparison there is there's so much innovation occurring that is happening that you don't necessarily see outside of the end result. We know it's fast, we know it's cheap, we know it has zero gas fees, it's scalable. There's a lot of other things either ready, being built, or that people are talking about that could be built that are really, really incredible. So I like that comparison a lot. Sorry for my overreaction.
Oh my God, you liked something I said? I'm so surprised. But thanks for that detail. And also Stan, maybe a little controversial too, but he's like the Elon Musk of the blockchains. He's really funny. He likes memes and he's wickedly smart.
Yeah, and actually, I would like to take the moment to tell people about Fisha Ino. Apparently, our community launched this meme coin, and some of our engineers tried to mine this meme coin, but they failed. So, but it's a big thing. So we have actually the first meme coin on Scale.
Yeah,
I hope members make lots of money.
well,
We don't have, but we love it.
Just so we don't get in trouble by Jack and stay compliant.
Absolutely.
That wraps up this space. Thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you guys on Twitter and at tomorrow's gaming space.
Okay.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Then